that time right here on KAZ Radio, Cleveland's online inspiration station, where we have one of the most hottest shows every Sunday at 3. None other than What's Going On with Lady D and Sir John. How are you doing, Lady D?
Well, I'm doing awesome. And there would not be any Fair to Midland today.
No Fair to Midland.
No Fair to Midland today. Okay, because Fair to Midland is running somewhere real Midland.
Yeah, he's running late.
He's running a little late. That's okay. I'm going to give him a pass today.
You'll give us a pass. Well, who are these sharp gentlemen you have in the studio with you today?
Well, I have Cleveland's own, just amazing young man here, Pernell Jones.
Okay.
And his team. And I'm going to let him do the introduction because he's brought us some young men that are doing some amazing things. And also another young man who's in charge of all of this. So, Pernell, tell us.
Well, thank you, Lady D, for inviting me today. And I brought Bob Ivory. He is the program director of and owner of Students of Promise, a company that mentors our children in local high schools. And I'd like to allow him to take a moment and introduce the two young students he's brought with us today.
Thank you, Councilman, and also thank you, Lady D, for this opportunity on this sunny Sunday. As the Councilman said, I direct an initiative called Students of Promise, which is a closing achievement gap effort in Cuyahoga County. It once was a state initiative under former Governor Ted Strickland, and my former mentor, State Senator C.J. Prentice. And it was a statewide model under the Strickland administration, in which we were in 33 high schools, about 13 school districts across the state, focusing on ninth graders and African American Latino males in hopes to close the achievement gap. So I'm honored to have brought two of our standout students. One to my immediate left is Mr. DeAndre Thomas, who's from Warrensville Heights High School. He's a junior.
Okay.
And also Mr. Derek Black, who's also a junior at Cleveland Heights High School. It's two of our fine young men that are a part of the Students Promise program.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, we have so much to talk about here today, and I'm going to just, since we are starting with you,
Yes.
give us a little insight. Tell us about why and what made you, and how long has this organization been in existence?
Excellent question. The inception of the initiative was back in 2007 when Governor Strickland said that there should just be no more left behind kids. And in our community, often is the case that a lot of students begin high school and do not finish. And that starts at an early age, but ninth grade is that first year where you see that spike in high school dropouts. So it was brought to my attention under my foreign leader, State Senator C.J. Prentice, of how important this role needs to be embedded into our schools and into a community. So when I received the call a few years ago, I was in San Francisco launching the same model, and received a call from Councilman Jones to address some issues right here in Cuyahoga County. And I said, I think I have the perfect perfect approach to address some dynamics in some of our communities, and it would be the Students of Promise program that focus on social emotional learning, provides mentors, which we call linkage coordinators, embedded in every school, and to help navigate young men like Derek and DeAndre. And it's also co-ed, so we work with our young ladies as well, and help navigate them through high school and give them the resources and the support and the exposure, as this is an exposure opportunity that they need to be successful.
This is just really awesome. So now, how do students become a part of the program?
Currently, if you're in Cuyahoga County, we're now based in 4 high schools, and 4 school districts rather. That's Garfield Heights, Maple Heights, Cleveland Heights, and Warrensville Heights. So if you have a student that's entering the ninth grade, entering freshman, you would reach out to the principal at that school, the linkage coordinator at either of those schools, and from that point, it's no registration except for they're willing to be receptive to this model. There's certain risk factors that we target, but we target pretty much all of our students because we feel they all will benefit from this model.
Is there a charge?
No,
You
no
mean to
charge
tell
to
me
the
this
parents.
is free?
This is made possible by what I always say, and I can say this because I've had some travel. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, counties in the country, which is Cuyahoga County, that makes success of our young people a priority. Many people feel that maybe education is for simply the educators of the school districts, but the county plays a huge role, and important, and I think a pivotal role in education, as it also deals with health, human services, economic development. So our county, I believe, is at the forefront in leading the nation in putting resources and putting an emphasis on school-based education to put a model like this inside the actual schools.
So this is from the county.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned earlier it was Governor Strickland who started the.
Initially, the model was a product of Governor Ted Strickland's Closing Achievement Gap office, which I was a part of under his administration. And once we had a change in administration, there was a change of resources,
Right.
change of directions. But the leaders, as I spoke in Cuyahoga County, who remembered that model and the success, said it would be beneficial in Cuyahoga County if they kind of took the
Initiative.
forefront and initiative to make sure that those same outcomes that we can, duplicate those right here in Cuyahoga County.
Also, well, by the way, I'm John, or Sir John, or whatever.
Sir John.
Sir Soleil, my great grand aunt is here, and she's turning 90 something. Something. Played a pivotal role in my life. So I was glad to meet all of you. And you were about to say something.
And when you mentioned free, I started thinking it's really taxpayer provided.
Okay.
And from that perspective, I would say, to kind of give you a little backdrop, I'm the council vice president, county council vice president. And,
Awesome.
And my district is referred to as District 8. But I took office after the corruption scandal of, remember, Jimmy DeMora and all those things that happened. And the residents of Cuyahoga County transformed our county government. We voted to change the charter, create a charter government. And now instead of 3 commissioners, we have a mayor of the county called the county executive, Armin Budish, and 11 county councilmen. And I'm one of those 11. And we're all pretty familiar with our city council people.
Right.
And the things we need from them, whether a tree falls over or who's going to pick up the trash, and,
Right.
and the community development to beautify and rehab and transform the physical appearance of our neighborhood. The county's role is similar. They can do the same things. But our main wheelhouse is human development.
Oh, and that
and
is so
human
important.
services, right? How do we transform individuals?
Right.
How do we rehab it and help someone to be all that they can be? That's what we do. And you name a vulnerable segment of the community, that's what the county focuses on.
Okay.
Those struggling with drugs and alcohol, those with felonies on their records. How do we help them when they come back to the community, reintegrate economically and deal with sometimes anger management issues, whatever it might be. And in this context, how do we help our children reach their full potential?
Right.
Okay. When I first took office and I was new to government, I tried to do it in a local church and try to help our children who had dropped out or were just not engaged in school, and I didn't have as much success when it was community based. The children
Okay.
didn't show up to the resources.
Mhm.
But we had a challenge, an issue that came up in the city of Garfield Heights. And what happened was the county built a brand new county library, beautiful facility on Turney Road, and ribbon cuttings with the elected officials and the residents of the community. And 30 days later, 50 children were banned for fighting in the parking lot and misbehaving within the school system. And they were all African American children. And as we know, the city of Garfield Heights is a predominantly white city.
Right.
So there was racial tension. There was some other flash mob types of situations in Cleveland Heights and other cities in those years as well. And there was a community meeting. And in that meeting, the residents brought all the elected officials to task, and I was one of them. They wanted to know, why the kids doing this, where are the parents, and Pernell Jones, what are you going to do about it? And I said to them, I remember that day, I said to them, well, the county, we do focus on removing children from homes when there is abuse and neglect and those issues. But we also do things people don't realize. We quietly work to strengthen family dynamics. I said, let me go back and research
Okay.
and see what I can find to be a part of the solution. Okay? And that's how that meeting ended. But then I started researching. I started trying to find something that we could do to help our children. Okay, and not just those targeted in that flash mob, but just the children in general. Okay, and I found something. I found Bob Ivory. I found what was called the Closing the Achievement Gap Initiative. It's just a nationwide initiative to help our children close the gap between where they may be underperforming to helping them reach their full potential. So that's it. The gap is just helping them reach their full potential.
Okay.
And Bob Ivory, who I had known previously, and learned that he was now in San Francisco, as he mentioned, and he was actually delivering the same service to the city of San Francisco. So I reached out to him and I said, hey Bob, I'm looking to start funding an initiative here. Would you be willing to entertain competing and bidding to be one who delivers this services to local schools here in our community? And he did. He came back. It was the same year LeBron James came back, if you want to know when it happened.
Okay.
All right? So we were all cheering it and for different reasons, too.
That is really awesome.
It's the exact same time and year. So the 4 schools, as Bob has already mentioned. Garfield Heights, because that's where it was started for me.
Originated.
Maple Heights was another city that I represent as well. Warrensville Heights, predominantly African-American city with the same needs. And Cleveland Heights, a school that has predominantly African-American population in their school system. And those 4 first-ring cities were where we first targeted. And Bob Ivory was hired by the school systems,
Okay.
those 4 school systems, and he is delivering the services, some of the services he just mentioned. And that's how we kind of got to where we are today. I followed it through over the years. It started 3 years ago.
Okay.
It started 3 years ago. And one of my hopes was that we would obviously reduce dropouts, increase attendance, reduce suspensions, and increase graduation rates. Those were metrics and measurements that I could go back to the residents of the community and say, hey, we are positively impacting the children in our community, and we're getting results. And 3 years in, we had our first graduation class. Bob called me and said, hey, Purnell, I need proclamations because our kids are graduating. And I was like, how are we graduating in 3 years? Why 3 years? Everybody finished school in 4 years.
Right.
The reason was some of our children had been held back. Maybe they failed the 5th grade, 8th grade, some grade. They were held back. But Students of Promise helped our children recover the school credit
That they
hours that they lost and allowed them to graduate on time.
That is really amazing.
That was amazing.
Yeah, because you know it's
That's a huge metric.
Yes, it is.
It is.
And so now, do you plan on maybe putting this into the Cleveland public schools and a few other schools, maybe John Adams or John F. Kennedy? How are those schools ranked compared to the schools that you're reaching out to now, that you're working with?
Bob Ivory delivers the service. He's the
Okay.
one on the ground. He's doing all the hard work.
Okay.
As an elected official, it's my job to make those contacts. I plan to meet with the. I don't want to bring it all out now,
Right.
But it is my desire to reach out to the CMSD and say, hey, we've got something that's working. In 3 years in the pilot phase, and we'd like to see it in more Cleveland schools.
I love it because this is very motivating, and this is what our young adults need. You know, to see someone of their peers doing it. This way, it lets them know that they can do it too.
Yeah.
You know, because you can too. And you 2 gentlemen right here, young man, I want to hear your experience. So tell me your name and tell us your name and how old you are and
You're the lucky one. You get to go first.
That's hot seat, okay. So tell us, what got you involved in this?
How y'all doing? I'm DeAndre Thomas. I'm 16 years old, 11th grader at Warrensville. Students of Promise has been very beneficial to me. What really got me started was one day my friend was talking about Students of Promise. He stopped. We were going to the lunchroom, and he said, "Let's stop in here. This is Miss Netta's office." I said, "What's this?" I went in there and talked to her about it. She was like, "It's a program that I just help you not only academic wise, but socially. If you don't feel socially comfortable in your school or even in your community." So I went in there, got the paper signed up, And then ever since then, me and our linkage coordinator, Ms. Netta, just have been building a better relationship with each other. We get along well, but honestly, if it wasn't for Students of Promise at Warrensville, I probably would have transferred. Cause like Warrensville, I like the school, but it's like I don't know, like it's like I don't socialize with a lot of people at Warrensville. I only got a few friends there.
Right.
But Students of Promise, I get to socialize with other schools, with Maple, Garfield, and Cleveland Heights. So it helped me socially. That's why I really joined.
Oh, that's excellent. And what grade are you in now?
11.
So you're looking to graduate from the School of Promise?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so there is a promise there for
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
So besides helping you socially, has it helped you academically?
Definitely helped me academically. Ms. Nettis, anytime I need her help, go down to her room, and my teachers allow me to go down to her room. She help me with the assignment, because with it being so many kids in a room, my teacher not always be able to help me
Focus.
Yeah,
Mhm.
individually.
Homework.
So Ms. Nettis, she always willing to help me with my work anytime I need
Okay.
it.
That's great. How many kids in the classroom?
In the classroom at
On average?
Warrensville, I think my most was maybe 30.
30
Wow.
children, okay. Mhm.
Maybe most, at the most.
And are there other students? Have you grabbed a hold and told other students to come on and join?
Definitely, you ask Ms. Nettis, anybody come in her room with me,
Uh-huh.
if they say, let me join Students of Promise, I'm like, why do you want to join Students of Promise?
Right.
Or if my friends, they be like, why you always go in there? I'll be like, it's just somewhere where I could be myself, or if I need help with anything, she will always be there for me and help me with it. So I definitely have recommended it to my peers.
Okay, and do you feel confident today? You know who you are?
Yes, ma'am.
All
DeAndre
right.
Thomas.
All right, good. That's well said. And tell me, what are you looking to do once you finish the School of Promise?
Once I've done with Students of Promise, I really want to go to college for sports administration.
Sports administration.
So, Mr. Ivory, we go on exposure field trips to look at different colleges. And this past May, we went to Morehouse College, and the man who's giving us the tour of the college, he told me they have a sports administration program. So it definitely helped me out with what I want to do in the future. So
This is awesome because I was reading the brochure that you sent me, and that you actually do take the students out.
Yes.
They go and visit other colleges,
Yes.
and they get the different type of exposure that they need to open up their eyesight up of
Absolutely.
what they want to do, and
The
then
way they want to go.
right,
Absolutely. 'Cause
right,
what we call, and I can't take credit for this because State Senator C.J. Prentice coined this phrase, the 6 block radius of awareness, which a lot of our students in underserved communities, they have basically a 6 block radius of awareness. You know the store, you know where Big Ma is, you know where that is and that is, and you don't really get much exposure outside of your community. So to take students to Atlanta, we've gone to Selma, we've gone to Birmingham. When I was in San Francisco, I flew. We flew 17 students from San Francisco to Atlanta when the President Obama spoke and gave a commencement address in 2013. There was students that had never seen the Golden Gate Bridge, even though they live in San Francisco.
Wow.
So just that exposure.
Right.
And then when I look at this young man, it's like looking at the past, because his father was my college roommate. And we were his father and I were in Upper Bound together, and Upper Bound is another great
yeah,
program.
Upper Bound was around when I was growing up.
we were in Upper Brown at Baldwin Wallace, so it was a lot about exposure and academic and social emotional learning. So when I see him, it's literally I see his dad, and him and I did the same thing. That director, Cassandra Brown Collier, exposed us to things outside of my neighborhood of Superior and Mark's neighborhood of East Boulevard and Wood Hill, and we got to see things that we normally would not have seen outside of opportunity like the county is presenting with these young men.
This is
Awesome.
really terrific.
Now your turn.
Yes.
How's everybody doing? I want to thank you for letting me on the show. And my name is Derek Black.
All
I'm
right.
from Cleveland Heights High School. I'm 16 years old. And this program, I don't even know where to start because there are so many things that I could talk about. There are so many highlights. But I'm going to start on how I got into the program. I didn't know about it, but I was going into my freshman year. And at Warrensville, you have it at when you're in 8th grade going to 9th, but I was just going into the high school. So Mr. Ivory, he reached out to my father and he told him, he's like, yo, your son, he should join this program. It's really good. And so I went to the summer program first. They have a summer program where you can you go to the school and it's like different people that come in from different small programs, and they build with you. It's a 4-week program, and they see what you are, where you like what type of person you are, and then they try to help you build a stronger character, where you at, and see what you want to do, and kind of help you so you can be where you want to be. And they had different people, like artists, they had inspirational speakers, different type of people, and I'm a musician, and so they also had music people come in.
Okay.
And we actually recorded one summer, and that was cool. They also had a movie that we were all in, and that was cool. And
What movie was this?
a movie that Students of Promise made. Like I said, there were small
Okay.
programs. One of the programs, I forget the name of it, but the guy,
At Reading Ram.
Reading Ram.
Okay.
He was a director and a film producer, and he made a small movie of the 4 weeks that
Where's
we were
it
going
taken?
through. Yeah.
Where's it taken?
Yeah, and it
Okay.
went through
Okay.
all 4 schools, and when it was completed, we aired it. We watched it at Euclid, the Euclid movie theater.
Okay.
That was really nice.
Great.
And one thing that I like about this is it opens doors to people, because, as Mr. Ivory said, not a lot of people left the state of Ohio or even left Cuyahoga County, and I traveled a little bit with my family, but it's like when you go on family reunions, you can only see so much. But when I was with Students of Promise, it's like you have a little bit of freedom, and they not only tell you to where you've been, but they also show you places that you can go. And it's like we went to colleges, we went to museums, and it's nice to see it's nice to see new things and how you can be exposed to new ideas. And I thought that was nice. And on bringing people in,
Mm-hmm.
I brought a few people in, and I think that's very beneficial to some of the people, because some people I brought in, they really weren't on the right path, and then bringing them to Students of Promise, it kind of turned their whole life around. Like, you probably wouldn't notice it, but if you stop to think about it, before you go to Students of Promise, you can go after school or during school.
Okay.
And after school, not everybody goes home. Some people, they kick it with their friends, go to stores or restaurants, and they might do stuff that isn't so good. But
Right.
Students of Promise, after school, you can go, and I have Miss Mims at Cleveland Heights, and so we can go with her, and she's a good tutor, and she's a good person that you could talk to about anything, just not academics, but your personal life. If you need help with something,
Right.
if she can't help you with it, she'll reach out so somebody else can. And one year I needed help with academics. I think it was English, and
Okay.
she personally hired a tutor for me, and so I would come after school and she helped me. And that's just one of, I told you it's a lot that I could
And
talk
I know,
about.
I'm just loving this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What instrument do you play? Because I know you said you're
You're a musician.
You're a musician.
I play a lot of them.
What? Tell. I want to hear. What do you play?
I started with saxophone. That's my main instrument. I can play all the saxophones. I play trumpet, clarinet, piano, guitar, ukulele. But the only thing I really can't play is drums. I can't do everything like
Right,
that.
okay.
Yeah, but I play a lot of instruments. I write music. I record music.
So musically, what do you want? Where are you going?
Where are you
with that?
going with this? What do you want to do?
Well, at first, I just wanted to be a musician. And then I realized my sister, she's a singer. And then I didn't know I could sing. And then she was like, well, if I could sing, then maybe you could sing. And so I was like, well, let me try it. And I was like, well, I'm not that bad. So then I was like, well, maybe I could be a singer too. So I
Okay.
started writing music, and I started recording over the music that I play. And then on top of that, I realized that I was a good writer, because after I got the English tutor, I realized that I could write better.
Okay.
And I always have ideas in my head.
Right.
And so I started with poetry, and then that helped with my songs. And so now I'm a story writer, and I write stories, short stories. So what I want to do, I want to have my own movie company, and I want to write movies, and I want to direct the movies. I don't know if I want to act in them. I am an actor, but I don't know if I want to act in all my movies. And I want to write the music soundtracks to my movies. So it's just like I want to be in. I'm just all the way in the arts. So that's me. I'm an actor, musician.
That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Don't tell me Cleveland doesn't have talent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, before you got in this program, were you struggling with anything? What did you find that was your weakness? Did you struggle with academics, or were you not interested in going to school? Did you cut classes? Any bad things about you?
Not all
bad
I've
things.
always been a good student, but definitely procrastination.
Okay.
Because like you can always say how you want to do something. Like everybody says they want to do something, and even I have stuff that I want to do that I haven't did yet. But it's like when I came to Students of Promise, they told me like if you want something done, you have to do it. And what was also said was, how do I say? I forgot what it was, but the job, it looks hard until you do it.
Right.
And so I'm still not 100% there yet, but if it's like, it's some work I gotta do, I'm gonna try to do it. I might not always get it done, but it's a start. And then it's like, with the tutors and everything, that sort of, I never been a bad student, but it like helped my GPA, like from like 3s to like a 3.4, you know?
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so now I'm on the goal to get straight A's, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because I've always been like a 3.0 student, but
Open
yeah.
up more doors for you.
Yeah, and it kind of helped me so I can get up more. you
Yeah,
know?
you're elevating
Yeah.
yourself and you're being enlightened,
Mhm.
and this is just really awesome. The parents, are the parents involved in this program with their students? Because look like I was reading, and you pull the parents in, so this is a work together project,
Absolutely.
not just the student being involved. Because sometimes your students can be involved in something, but if they don't have the support from the family,
Absolutely.
then it could go either way.
Absolutely. And that's a great point, because it is, the program is based on a continuum. We begin with the 9th grade and even, 8th grade at Warrensville, but we follow them all the way through high school and beyond. I have students that have graduated that I still hear from. Now some of them have graduated from college that still utilize the same resources or contacts and so forth. And even some of their parents that, even though their child is now an adult or have graduated, I still hear from those exact parents about some of the same issues, needs, and so forth. So the parent piece is very critical. We were just talking about, Councilman, just the other day, about strengthening even more so our parent component, because we do parent workshops. We've had Saturday sessions with parents. There's some other great parent engagement programs in the county that we definitely want to partner with, but we are pretty much have their students kind of on loan. They're loaning their child with us, and they're putting their children in our hands. So it would not be a true partnership if we did not also have the hand of the parent as well.
Sort of like based on a village model.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
that's
The
the
entire
that's the
village.
entire concept. That it takes a village, but the village has to be healthy. The
Right.
village has to be informed.
Right.
The village has to be cooperative. The village has to be engaged. The village has to be healthy. So it takes a village, but the village are not those things. Then you're still kind of right where we started. So what we want to do with this model is be that village with the parents, not to the parents, but with the parents,
Yeah, right.
and with the teachers, and with the faith community, and with even organizations like this, just to give us this format to share this. You're also the village as well.
Right.
So I believe this is how it was intended, and if you go back into our history, that's how
It worked.
That's how it worked.
Right.
And that's how we've been able to thrive and rise above all obstacles, is to have that and not lose that village concept.
I'm going to say the exact same thing Bob said, but I'm just going to describe it as a vehicle.
Okay.
When I go back to the residents in Garfield or wherever I might go, but particularly Garfield, to let them know what's going on and how update them on things, I can now say to them, this Students of Promise is housed in your local Garfield Heights High School. Okay? And you can all be a part.
Right.
It makes sense to the parents because we're subsidizing parents. So,
Right.
if the government can subsidize the oil industry to keep them successful, or the corn industry, why can't we subsidize our parents? provide support to them. So no one can say, well, you're only dealing with ones who have intact parents and two-parent households.
Right.
No, it doesn't matter.
Right,
No,
right.
we're here to address the need.
Right.
You name it. Teachers appreciate it because now
Okay.
children aren't always being suspended. They can call Bob and who did you say your linkage coordinator is? Ms. Netters.
Ms.
You
Netters.
know him, Ms. Netters all day. Who is Ms. Netters?
Yes.
And
Miss
And-
Mills.
Ms. Mims.
Miss
See,
Mims and Miss Netters. Give them a shout out because
Exactly.
we need more Miss
Mhm.
Mims
And
and
Miss
Miss
Netters.
Netters
That's
in
right.
our
We
in
gotta
our
shout out
schools.
That's right.
Mr. Green,
Mr. Green.
at Maple, and Mr. Brown at Warrensville, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Garfield,
Okay.
because they are actually and this is apropos because it's Sunday. They are the tie that bind. The linkage coordinators are the spoke to the wheel. I guess in our era, we all can name our teachers, and I could name, Miss Peck at Doan, and I could name this teacher and that teacher.
Right.
But our linkage coordinators, as far as I see it, and I think how the program was created, are really to be those teachers that were our backbone when we grew up, that maybe summer education may be missing some of those teachers that we can name, because I also believe, and I also give credit to one of our state Board of Education members who said this statement, I never forgot it, that Merle Johnson, she said, Merle Johnson, she said that children haven't changed, childhood has. So if you look at it from that vernacular, that kids are kids, but childhood has changed, and what they
Yes.
have to go through, and what they have to deal with, and
Yes.
the burdens that they have to carry, and how they have to grow up. They grow up a little faster and have a little more responsibility. So what we're trying to do is kind of meet that change with some viable solutions, and to produce some outcomes. So you're right. It is the entire village that is the reason why we wrap ourselves around young men like these two here.
Awesome.
To that point, I'll say this. I mentioned I'm a funeral director by profession. As this started evolving for me and bringing Bob Ivory to the table and the professionals who were telling me what's, things like 9th grade is the year our kids start to drop out of high school and
The impact
they can
year.
go. And I can see that as a funeral director.
I
I
was
know
gonna
that
say-
I've buried too many individuals, young people, victims of gun violence, and I have to ask them information that goes on their death certificate. What's their name, your birthday, your social security number, what grade did you finish in school, or did your child finish in school?
Mhm.
And invariably they'd say they didn't finish high school. I hear 9th grade, maybe 10th, 11th, but they never finished. And it became obvious from what the professionals said. I could see anecdotally from my own experience,
Your own professional.
my
Right.
own professional experience, that you got to finish high school. If you keep them on the track of constructive opportunities, then as long as they don't fall off track, they'll stay away from the destructive activities.
Okay.
And you've got to keep them on that path. And that's what Students of Promise does when it's housed in the school, contracted by the school system to come in and start to deliver, and then it grows organically. It's a
Right.
vehicle, it's a
Mhm.
village or a vehicle. Now, if you want to bring customer service to our children need customer service.
Well,
It's a
that's
vehicle.
my plan.
That's your plan.
That's my plan. That is my
Yeah.
dream.
Absolutely.
I have a dream to bring
You
that.
had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, I was gonna play a part about the parents being involved. My mom definitely involved. During the summer bridge program, during the 3rd week, we went to a ropes course and did different obstacles. When I walked in the door, Jerry, I seen you swinging on that rope today. I need to see it. How did you see it? So I think my parents are definitely involved.
They're very involved.
Awesome.
You have brothers and sisters.
Yes, ma'am.
Are they involved?
My sister, she kind of works, so it's kind of hard for her to be involved. She worked, but I'm the youngest of
Okay.
5, so my other siblings graduated high school. My only other sibling that's in school is my sister, and she works, so she's not really that
Okay.
involved.
Okay. So they're getting you on the right track, and that is great. Now, you have you have brothers and sisters too?
Yes,
Okay.
but most of them are graduated, completed with school. My sister, she just graduated this year, and she really wasn't involved with the program because she was heavily in music and
Okay.
singing and traveling and all of that.
Okay.
And I have a little sister, and she's 4.
Okay.
So hopefully, if the program is still running strong, then I'll. put
No,
her
no,
to-
no. There will be no. Hopefully, we're going to put it out there in existence.
Right.
This program is
Bless
going to
you.
be here to last forever
Yeah.
because we need a program like this
Oh, yeah.
to
Yeah.
continue on and actually to really keep growing. because there's so many other components that can be added,
Added on
on
to
to
it.
this
Absolutely.
program. So I really
And it's so
see-
amazing to see in its pilot form that it's already making such an impact. And something that I didn't know earlier when I came in, you were talking about what the county council, and you mentioned how our county is on the forefront. And it's nice to hear that our county has seen that it really, for their citizens to actually get anywhere and for the county to improve, education is the cornerstone. It's education for all. And if we don't take care of that, then no society can grow.
That's right.
And it's the point. Or no democratic society can grow.
It is definitely on the forefront because when I was in San Francisco, people would just be like, "Oh, here he comes. He's about to talk about, he's about to talk about Calhoun County. He's about to talk about Cleveland."
Okay.
But we are, and that's something to be proud of. That maybe Clevelanders or people in Calhoun County don't realize how many other municipalities, how many other regions look at what we do, and I saw that firsthand. Especially in Health and Human Services when I was in San Francisco, and I talked about what we did with closing the achievement gap, or what we're doing with re-entry, or what we're doing with senior adult services. Not that other cities or municipalities don't do that, but I think Calhoun County does it at such a level because we really have to. When
Right.
you come through an area that has so much impacted poverty, which a lot of our communities have, you really have to be good at what you do and helping to meet the needs of at least of those,
Right.
and those that are most challenged or marginalized, or however you want to describe them. But as far as Students of Promise, I've received calls from Phoenix. I've received calls from New Haven, Connecticut,
Wow.
Orlando, Florida, Tallahassee, Florida. Just got off the phone with the Atlanta officials last week. So we're out there as far as the impact. And some of these places are places where I have relationships, or places that we've gone, and they're like, "Who are those guys in those blazers? And who are those guys in this and the other?" Then when they do
Yes.
the research and they go to our website, studentsofpromiseusa.org, shameless plug, and when they go to that site and they see what we're doing, they're like, "Well, how do we do this here?" I received a call from Paris, France,
Wow.
because we're on the internet, on YouTube, and I could barely understand this gentleman's English. It was so broken. Nigerian gentleman, but a very strong French accent. But he was talking about Students of Promise and what are you doing with those students? Because we have the same issue here with our young men of color as far as achievement and underachievement and so forth. And I had to call a friend of mine who was from the Ivory Coast to kind of help me understand
Dan,
what he was saying.
saying.
But he saw us on YouTube, he saw the website, and that was in overseas.
Give us your website so our audiences know where they can go and look up the Students
There
of
it is.
Promise.
They can go
Okay,
to
right here.
www.studentsofpromiseusa.org, and you'll see a lot of these gentlemen's faces when you go through a lot of the
Well, thank you
the
for being
pictures.
great representatives.
You'll see
Thank you.
information from each school district. I thought it was important not to just toot our own horn,
Mhm.
but we wanted to hear what the educators and what the administrators themselves, because if they did not believe in, buy into, and allow us to come into their districts, and there's a correction, I'm contracted by the districts, I'm not hired by them, but if they did not believe or see the need, then we wouldn't be there.
Correct.
So I really ask anyone to reach out to at least the administrators, school board members, and superintendent of the districts to get their feedback because we are a guest of their district. But I think the partnership is a great collaboration.
Well, give them a lot of applause for recognizing
Absolutely,
a
for allowing
tool
us to be there.
that they can use,
Yeah.
and it's amazing that you research this
Yeah.
and were able to go back to your constituents with a viable plan.
And it's really about educating the elected officials and the school boards, others of what this program has to offer. I really can't say enough about that education piece. When I think of the pushback that I've gotten, initially they said, "Oh, the county doesn't do education." What does that mean? County doesn't do education.
Oh, wow.
We work in UPK at the earlier ages,
Mhm.
pre-K. I said, why can't we target our high school, 9th grade?
Right.
Here's where our children are starting to fall off the precipice. and we should be here and working our way back.
Right.
You know, and meeting our children at the pre-K age. You know, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So I could go through a whole bunch of pushback, but it's about educating once they see what we're doing.
Right.
And that's why we're doing a hard study evaluation of the success of this program. Because I want people, some will not appreciate everything we're saying today and the anecdotal again. They want to see it on paper.
Right.
Some people who control funding and
Right,
dollars
right.
and influence, they want to see it in a calculated
Numbers.
numbers
Number
way,
of people.
and it can be done.
Yeah.
And that's what I've moved dollars in our budget and with the support of my colleagues. And I can't say enough about my council colleagues who have voted and on yes for this to get the funding we need to study, have hard evidence that this works.
Our core metrics that show
Core metrics.
that it
So
works.
that's it.
Well, yes, go ahead. Sure.
I was gonna say I agree with what both of you said, but one of the biggest takeaways for me is that when people they come into this program, they come into the program undecided, not with just themselves, but as life itself. Like I'm like school is a priority, and if I don't go to school, they're gonna make me go to school, and if that doesn't happen, then I'll have to go somewhere else. And then other people, it's like they go to school, they know that you have to do school, and then after school, what's that? Like, what am I gonna do? But Students of Promise, it kind of gives people a hope of a better reality for themselves and what they can do. Because some people, like I said, they come and they don't know what they want to do with their lives. But now I know, like, some people, like, we'll leave a trip and then they're like, oh, I seen somebody, he talked about how he went through all of this, and now he's about to be a doctor, he's about to be a lawyer. They're coming from all of this, and it's like, I like how Students of Promise, it changes people's mindsets for the better.
To open up their minds to
Yeah.
see where they can go
Yeah.
and give them hope.
Yeah.
I think what he's referring to is, especially when we went to Morehouse.
Yeah.
We went to Morehouse,
Okay.
and some of the tour guides were former either Students of Promise, or Cleveland does have a Closing Achievement Gap model that is still from the original. And my fraternity brother George Golden directs that in Cleveland. But we have students that have gone on, and they actually reach back to these students. So we've had 2 or 3 tour guides that are now Morehouse men. Morehouse men mean they have graduated from Morehouse
Okay.
College, and they were actually the students or now college graduates that sat where these gentlemen sit and where young ladies sit. Now they were the ones showing them, not only, look, I was where you were as a 9th grader, as a 10th grader, maybe didn't have the best grades, or maybe was getting suspended, or maybe had not gone outside Glenville or Huff, but now they're Morehouse men, and they have a relationship that they can connect with these gentlemen, that they can also show them
Where you
how-
can go.
Exactly.
This is really nice.
Whatever your goal or dream is.
Yeah. So, now the funeral business. Just,
Okay.
I mean, because you have such a long line history. Let's start back to your family business, and you became a funeral director, and then you just branched on. Let me hear. Tell our
I became a
audience.
politician.
Yeah, I
no
mean, you've done a
experience.
lot. I mean, you're a motivator itself.
Wow, I don't know how far back to go, but I want to go back to the beginning.
Okay.
My grandfather, our family lived in Baltimore, Maryland, and he was a janitor, but he was a frugal man who saved his money.
Mhm.
And it was always his dream back in the 40s or so, and that there'd be a business for his entire family to operate in and work for themselves. And his oldest son, Marshall Jones Jr., started the Marshall Jones Funeral Home in Baltimore, Maryland back in the late 50s.
Okay.
Okay. And Grandpa's dream had come true. He had loaned the money to his son. The business was there. He had about 10, 11 babies. My dad was around in the middle of the litter somewhere. And he became a funeral director with his older brother, and sisters were secretaries. And Grandpa's dream had come true.
Okay.
Well, one day my dad decided he wanted his own funeral home, and he didn't want to open up in competition with his brother. So he came to Cleveland, where his license transferred, where he didn't have to take the tests over, and we had some family here in Cleveland.
Okay.
So in 1973, the Purnell Jones and Sons Funeral Home opened on Cedar Avenue, East 71st and Cedar Avenue, back in 1973. I was 5 years old,
Wow.
and my brother was born here in Cleveland.
Wow.
Okay. So from 73 to now, it was 40, almost 45 years ago. We've been in business. Parents divorced, and we went back to Michael and I went back to Baltimore with my mom through the high school years, junior high and high school years, and after college, I went to the University of Maryland, College Park. I joined the family business in '92, and my brother joined a few years later after graduating and along the same path, same school. And so I've been a licensed funeral director since the early '90s, '92, wow. And I thought that's all I'd ever be. I thought I'd be a funeral director, and I was quite happy doing that. But I grew up on Cedar Avenue, 73rd and Cedar, and we know the issues, the challenges, and the drugs, and all the things. And I've buried friends who were victims of gun violence, but I live right there. That was my business. I live right next door to the funeral home. So one day, I met a girl, also my wife Tammy,
Okay.
and she wanted to move to the suburbs because we had drug activity. It was just getting to a point where she just wanted to move, and I said, "Well, I understand."
Okay.
And I was willing to move, and I had been somewhat desensitized to it, and but it just so happened coincidentally that I was at my ward club meeting, and Councilman Frank Jackson came up to me and said, "Jones, I'm starting a weed and seed initiative, and I want you to serve on it." And I was about to say, "Well, I don't do garden stuff, you know." He said it was a neighborhood strategy to weed out crime,
Okay.
and seed good things into the neighborhood. And as soon as he said that, this light bulb went off in my head. If I do this, my wife might want to stay. So I didn't ask her, "Oh, well, what I got to do?" And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll do it." I said, "I'll do it." You know, and that's what happened. And here's what happened. We had concerned residents, myself, about 3 senior citizen ladies, none of us whose children or grandchildren were selling drugs in the neighborhood. And we met quietly. Nobody knew we were meeting. This was early 2000s. No one knew we were meeting with the police, building and housing, the Neighborhood Development Corporation. There were about a dozen resources. Came to a local church in the neighborhood, and we just told them everything. Who was selling, where they lived, you know, where they put the bag by the tree, and all of that we told them. And in a couple of months, the police did their thing,
Okay.
and they busted 3 drug houses that were on our street. So the open passing of money that we saw on a daily basis just disappeared right then and there, and it was gone. And we were excited. We made a list of all the abandoned houses that were on the street,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't do as quickly as I wanted, but they demolished them all. You know, and there were squatters that were in those houses,
Right.
and squatters were casing the neighborhood, using them as a base of operation to steal copper pipes, aluminum sidewalks, houses.
Yeah.
Once they tore the houses down, then Mayor Campbell and the demolition department, not demolition, the housing development, they built new houses on the street. They built new houses. So they literally transformed the appearance of our street with new houses and all the drug activity gone. It was like living in the suburbs in the city. You
Right,
know?
right.
We got federal recognition for what we did, and it led to federal funding because Weed and Seed was a federal strategy.
Okay.
With that money, $180,000, we gave half to the police, and it raised their presence and visibility in our neighborhood. There were some detectives assigned to us. They rode through the neighborhoods, and they were pressing. But we also used some of that money to put cameras up. So we put a camera on the commercial street right behind Cedar, just south Central Avenue.
Right.
When the camera went up, the prostitution that was on the street
Disappeared.
The prostitutes, when they disappeared, they were selling them and making money to buy the drugs. The drug boys who stood in front of a Arab family-owned store,
They disappeared.
the drug boys disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
They disappeared. They couldn't do with the cameras, and the women were gone too. So it wasn't in their best interest. It wasn't economically viable
Right.
Right.
for them to even be there. So they moved, and then not long after that, a year or so later, the Arab family-owned store closed down. And why did they close down?
Because
Making no
they were getting
money.
money from the drug.
You know how CBS is. CBS
Right.
is $1 million operation.
Yeah.
It's not because they sell candy in the front, that covers the rent. But it's the legal store in the back, the
Mhm.
pharmacy, the
Mhm.
legal drugs that make it $1 million operation.
Yeah.
that's what we were dealing with in the neighborhoods. For the young boys who stand out in front of stores, they're not there because they're striving the good business away.
Right.
They're making another kind of business.
Yes.
And we broke that up. And when we did that, again, the neighborhood transformed.
Good change.
And then Frank Jackson ran for mayor. And when he ran for mayor, I said, wow, who's going to be our councilman? He said, I'm going to run for city council, and I'm going to do weed and seed all over the community, whoever wants to do it. And I ran. That was my first foray into politics. And I lost by in a close race. Oh, 1 vote in the primary.
Okay.
And that was 2005. 4 years later, I ran again. Lost again in a close race in 2009. But the same election I was losing, the Demora corruption county thing was on the ballot. And the people, while I was losing that vote, the people were voting yes for our county charter government. So it passed, and the election started at the beginning of next year. So I flowed from one losing campaign into this new one. I didn't know what county government was. I didn't know what Peter Lawson Jones did or whatever.
Right.
I just felt I could win because I had already been laying foundation.
Right.
And I did. And as I ran, I started knocking on doors, asking people their concerns and asking for their support. And I won in a landslide. And that's how I became the county councilman, one of the founding councilmen of our new county government. And I learned on the job. And that's how all elected officials ultimately do. You learn once you're in how to work the levers of your office.
Right.
And I realized then this was far better for me
Okay.
than city council. Our county budget is far larger.
Countywide, you can do much
You
more
can do
impact.
much
More.
You can be more visionary.
Right.
You can look back. I was going to run the drug activity out as a city council, but we do human development. That would have been community development.
Right.
Okay.
But now human development says they're coming back after they served their 5 to
Their
7
time.
years, whatever it
Right.
might be.
Right.
What are they going to do? They're coming right back to the neighborhood. So now this is my opportunity to create programming that helps our residents, restored citizens,
Mm-hmm.
become economically viable and become part of the community.
Given that pathway, they
Pathway.
they don't have to go back. They can go forward.
Yeah.
That's
It's
exactly.
much, much better.
That's what your local government does. That's county. County is not state. It's still local.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of them as sometimes a boogeyman.
Right.
In some respect, the county. But we are your local government, your local elected official that you can call and pick up and I'll pick up the phone. Local and we focus. We can do community development. I put monies to demolish vacant houses. In the spirit of Weed and Seed, I sponsored a $50 million demolition fund to provide money to the city of Cleveland and East Cleveland and outer ring suburbs who don't need it, but their property taxes are higher because if the local city can't pay their housing taxes, property taxes, somebody else got to pay it.
Right.
That's why the Garfields and the others have higher property tax values. So this demolition fund, community development we can do. But again, I always say when you think of county, think about the health and human services, the human development that we are capable of doing. And how
Right.
can we make an individual's life better?
And that is so
And
important.
make our county
because-
better. by
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
Because one hand helps the other, because when our young men, they go and they be incarcerated and then they get out and you have nothing for them. And these programs really, I know they offer some type of programs when they're incarcerated, but still they need to be able to walk out that door and be able to get into another program, get them on a straight and narrow path because it's hard for them to find work. And so if you take a drug dealer and he's been locked up and he gets out and he wants it, they want it now, and they don't want to necessarily want to go through the steps.
Or they have obligations.
Right,
But it's also, for those
And then they mess around.
young men and women
if
who
they-
get in those situations.
Right, and if
and
they
maybe
don't
they
get what
because
they need, they
right,
go back.
Right.
They wind up going right back. I have a family member that it happened to him, and it's sad, because he came out, his heart was there, but then he had children and a worrisome girlfriend, and, we want it now, and so now you're all caught up, and now you're right back at the same place again. So we have to keep this from not happening.
Well, I like
You
the
know?
way he said, are reformed citizens. So they're back now. They're reformed citizen, and having those programs that will help them, maybe whatever goal that they had, and because of life circumstances, they threw it away. those programs hopefully will help them to stick.
Everyone deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
I always start with
Well,
one.
God gave us all that.
There's a county book called Going Home to Stay.
Mhm.
I don't know if you can find it online or not, but Going Home to Stay, it's a book about that thick, but it has all the resources that someone coming home from incarceration can have. Because when you first
Our
come,
county?
Our county.
Really?
The book is called Going Home,
Going Home to Stay.
And I lay it out on the coffee table of the funeral home. And people think maybe that's something about going to heaven, maybe, but no.
Yeah.
It's not. It's for this purpose. And when you come out of incarceration, some of the immediate things you need are your Social Security card, your birth certificate, all of those things. And that's what this book directs you towards, how to find those resources, how to find housing, you know.
Right.
And it's important for family members because you have the challenge of, do I let my loved one couch surf for me and with no direction and as open-ended as to when they're going to leave, but I love them and I want to take care. You know, this resource empowers not only the individual but the family to be supportive and not enabling, but actually empowering the individual. So that's what the book is.
Human
Going
development
Home
again.
To Stay. Human development, most definitely. Going Home to Stay. There is a physical building, North Star. It is a welcoming center for individuals as well. It's located on East 55th Street, just north of Chester Avenue.
Okay.
It's called North Star. It's under the umbrella of the Oriana House, which is across the street.
Oriana.
Okay.
And everything that's in that book, you can go into North Star and talk with a live person, an actual person, and who can help direct you and flesh out everything that's in the book as well.
Awesome. Really awesome.
I learned a
So,
lot about this county, our county.
Yeah.
What kind of a stunt?
well, I want to
Didn't know
say
that we had
this
so many
here.
programs.
If you had to give someone what my question is, I want you to give our audience, the young men today, a word,
Both of you.
both of you, of why they should change their lives and come on board and be a part of the School of Promise.
I think that people should try to change their lives because they could change somebody else's lives too. Like Mr. Ivory, he came from San Francisco and he changed some of our lives, you know, changing the past. I've talked about that before, so that's what I have to say. You can change somebody, you can help somebody else too.
And are you going to do that when you finish this program?
Of course.
Okay, excellent. And you?
I honestly feel like everybody should join Sisters of Promise, male, female, old, young, whatever, because it's very beneficial it's beneficial in so many ways. Like, it can help you academic wise, socially, physically. It could just help you in so many ways. So I just feel like you should join for
Okay.
any type of reason.
And are you going to get out here and be an advocate?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Okay, all right, because I want to see you out there promoting this, because without you, you are the example, and so you guys will be great advocates for this, and recruit as many people as you can, because young students, you guys are our future.
Yeah.
I'm going to grow old one day.
You haven't already?
Well, sure. No. But what I'm saying is we're going to grow, we're going to retire, we're going to move on. Somebody's got to carry this ball. And so we want you guys to carry the torch and keep it lit.
Yeah.
All right? Never let it go
You've been
out.
great representatives globally.
Yes.
Paris, France.
Woo. Wow. That is really awesome. And you're from San Francisco?
Well, I'm from Cleveland. I lived in San Francisco about 3 years in the Bay Area.
Okay.
But I'm Cleveland, born, bred, 105 Superior.
What high school?
Well, I went to West Tech High School. That's where his dad and I were best friends in high school, and also went on to be college roommates at Ohio University.
That is really awesome.
We reversed the brain drain when our kids are leaving here, and
You reversed it.
We brought them back.
There you go.
Well, this is just really tremendous. I mean, this has just been a really awesome Sunday. We enjoyed having you guys on as our guests, spreading all this good news. So get ready, because school will be starting back soon. What is it, August? End of August, you guys go back to school?
Yeah.
August 16th? Okay. 21st for you? Okay, so please, take a look, and you don't have to be a trouble student to be a part of the Promise. Okay? get out here and make a change and make a difference and get out.
And it's a
and
good tool
motivate
for
others.
parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and parents can come together and support and get educated as well. Okay, because it takes a family to, it takes a village to raise a family. All right,
Great vehicle.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this Sunday, and we thank you for tuning in with what's going on with Sir John.
And Lady D. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Happy birthday, Aunt Bell.
Yes, happy birthday to all the people that have birthdays this month. Okay? We wish